Back in 2024, I started a community challenge as a joke. If I got 100k challenge points, I will play Elden Ring, my first Souls game ever. I really didn't think much of it at the time, just something fun for stream that chat could work towards too. But one stream later, the chat reached the goal. And that was kind of the moment where everything started. I still remember just sitting there thinking, okay, I guess I have to do this now. I had no idea that this random challenge would end up becoming something that would change the way I look at games. And honestly, a lot of things outside of games too. Before I started Elden Ring, I got a few tips from friends. Things like, make sure you explore, go there first, don't miss that invader, and a lot of other useful advice that I completely forgot the moment that I actually started playing. I went in almost completely blind. And something about that first experience just stuck with me. After the stream ended, I couldn't really let it go. It wasn't like I planned it, I just started the game again after a few hours later, and then again, and suddenly I wasn't just playing it for a stream anymore. As I kept playing, it slowly stopped feeling like just another game I was playing and started becoming something more I genuinely look forward to every day. Kind of just slowly became a bigger part of everything I was doing, especially when I was a student at the time working on my final project. So my days became this strange mix of writing and playing. I would work on my assignment and then switch to Elden Ring and then back again. And then even my friends would sit on Discord, watch me play, like it just had become a part of the routine without anyone really planning it. Now 2 years later, I still remember so many moments from that first playthrough I clearly remember. But there's one in particular that stands out. When I reached LiLouis for the first time after beating Godric, I just stopped. I remember looking at it and thinking, I have never seen anything like this before. It really felt unreal. And for a moment I thought, this is probably the peak. It doesn't get better than this. Then I found Sophia River, and it completely broke my brain. I remember jumping down into this underworld expecting nothing, and suddenly there was a sky full of stars above me, like I've entered like an entirely different game. I just stood there thinking, how big is this game actually? Because every time I thought I understood it, it just showed me something else. In my first playthrough, I never made it to the Halleck or Malenia. Not because I wanted to, but I didn't really know it was there in the time. I knew she existed. I knew Malenia existed from my friends talking about her, but I always thought I will do that later after the final boss. That just never happened. I never got there before the DLC came out. As I got closer to the end of the game, the bosses started feeling different too. Early on, a lot of fights felt like obstacles, things I just needed to get past so I can see what's waiting around the corner. But towards the end, I found myself slowing down and learning them. Malekith was probably the best example of that. I struggled a lot with that fight. It felt like I kept hitting the same wall over and over again. But instead of making me want to quit, it made me more determined. Every attempt taught me something new, and little by little I stopped reacting to the fight and starting understanding it. And then there was Horror. That fight was completely different. Not necessarily because it was harder, but because how much personality it had. It felt less like fighting a boss and more like being thrown into a scene that had been building up for the entire game. I still remember the first time he grabbed me and launched me into the air. I just sat there laughing in disbelief. It was one of those moments where Elden Ring reminded me that it wasn't good at making difficult fights. It was good creating moments you remember a long time after they are over. But the part where everything really changed didn't happen in the first playthrough. It happened a year later. In August 2015, I decided to start my first challenge running Elden Ring. I wanted to complete the entire game using a Dancepad. I don't know how to explain why I did it in a simple way. I just came with this idea. I think it came from this idea I've been carrying for a long time, that everything is possible mindset. When I graduated in 2019, my aunt gave me a necklace that says exactly that. Everything is possible. And somehow that idea ended up turning into this challenge, as a way to prove myself. The first hours was horrible, but it was fun. I could barely control my character properly. Everything felt wrong, delayed, just weird. It took me around 16 hours to get comfortable using the Dancepad. And after that, something shifted. It started to feel normal. Like my feet has learned a new language. And the weird part, that it also changed how I understood Elden Ring myself. In the first playthrough, a lot of bosses felt like luck. But on the Dancepad, it wasn't possible anymore. I had to understand everything properly. Timing, spacing, patterns. There was no room for just hoping it could work. And then came Malenia, the boss I've heard about for years. The boss everyone talks about when they talk about Elden Ring. And honestly, before I reached her, I already knew she's gonna be a problem. Probably the hardest part of the entire run. It took me around 30 to 40 hours to beat her, and the thing is, it wasn't difficult itself, it was the mental battle that came with it. Every time I felt like I was making progress, she would remind me how far I still had to go. There were attempts where I barely made it through phase 1, and there were attempts where I reached phase 2 immediately died. And there were times where I got so close that I could almost see the finish line before everything fell apart. I lost count how many times I thought, maybe this isn't possible. Not because I didn't want it badly enough, but because the challenge felt so absurd. I was trying to beat one of the hardest bosses From Software has ever made while standing on a Dancepad. Most people struggled with her using a normal controller. And there were so many moments where I honestly felt impossible. Moments where I wondered if this could be the challenge that finally beat me, but I kept going. Not because it was fun all the time, but because I already gone too far to stop. At some point it stopped being about Malenia. It became about proving myself that I keep showing up. One more attempt, one more hour, one more day. And eventually, after all those failures, something started to click. The movements became clear. I wasn't just reacting anymore, I was understanding the fight. And when she finally went down, it didn't just feel like I beat a boss. It felt like something I wasn't supposed to be able to do. It felt like all those hours, all those attempts, all those moments of doubt have finally led up somewhere. And I have done it for the very first time on a Dancepad. I remember just sitting there trying to process everything that's happened. Not celebrating immediately, I just started crying. Because for so long, beating Malenia felt like this distant goal that might never happen. And suddenly it was over. And that was also the moment that proved to me that everything is possible. That moment is still one of the things I'm most proud of. Then in April 2026, something happened that I genuinely didn't expect. I got nominated for Moment of the Year at Danish Game Awards because of the Elden Ring Dancepad challenge. And now it feels really weird to saying it out loud, to be honest. Because when I started this challenge, it wasn't about getting an award, it wasn't about getting the recognition, it wasn't about growth, it was just me trying to prove myself that everything is possible and I can prove that to myself. That was the whole goal. It had just been me, my community, and this weird challenge that slowly grew into something bigger than I ever imagined. There were countless attempts, frustrating moments, and days where progress felt impossible. But there were also people who kept showing up, cheering on, and believed I could finish it when I even wasn't sure myself. So when I found out about the nomination, I didn't know to react. I remember reading the message multiple times, and I thought I really misunderstood it. It really didn't feel real to me. And then it hit me, and I started crying. Not because of the award itself, but because everything it represented. All the hours, all the failures, all the moments where I kept going even it could have been easier to stop. Something that started as a joke on stream had somehow turned into something people recognized outside of it. For the first time, it felt like this crazy journey I had been on wasn't just meaningful to me and my community. Other people had seen it too. And that was a really emotional realization. Being at the award show felt really unreal. Sitting there, hearing my name, seeing my name on the screen, and hear people cheering on was so unreal to me. It felt like something that wasn't supposed to exist while sitting there. I kept thinking back to the stream in 2024 where I started this community challenge and I thought, that's never gonna happen. But I was sitting there and kept thinking back and was like, this is where it led me. And I'm generally really thankful and grateful for the experience and the nomination. And looking back at it, it was just people that wanted to see me play Elden Ring. And now I'm sitting there, nominated for an award. It really didn't make much sense to me in my head, and it still doesn't do. And I was just like, how did I end up here? I didn't win, but honestly, it doesn't really matter to me. I went to experience the award show as a nominee, meet new people, enjoy the show, having a good time. That experience made it worth being there. Looking back at Elden Ring now, it isn't really about the bosses, achievements or builds. It's more about what it changed in me. Because when I started, I saw it as just another game. A difficult game, sure, but a video game. I still didn't expect it to turn out how it did, and it still does. It taught me that things felt impossible are usually just things you haven't learned yet. That failure isn't really failure if you keep going anyway. I think that's why the Dancepad run means so much to me, not because it's impressive. Because every step of it felt impossible before I started. And then, little by little, it became more possible. It also pushed me to try new things outside of gaming. New habits, new skills, new challenges that I probably wouldn't have touched before. And maybe the most important thing it taught me is this. Not everyone will understand why you're doing it. Not everyone is gonna support it. There will always be people who think it's a waste of time. People who don't see the value in it, and that's okay. Because the people who understand it, they matter a lot more than you think. Looking back, I don't think I would finish half of this challenge without the people around me. My friends sitting in Discord watching me fail for hours. The community showing up, stream after stream. The people who believed I could do it before I believed it myself. I'm really lucky to have people around me who are there no matter what. And I don't take that for granted. If anything, Elden Ring reminded me how important that is. Because no matter how much of the journey you walk alone, there will always be people helping you to get to the end. Because in the end, when you think about it, this wasn't supposed to happen. I was just a girl who got talked into playing Elden Ring on a stream. And somewhere along the way, it became just more than a video game to me. It became a challenge, a lesson, a source of memories, and a reminder that we are capable of a lot more than we think. And when I look back at everything that happened, the first playthrough, the Dancepad run, the people who supported me, and all the moments in between, I don't think about the victories. I think about the journey. And honestly, I'm grateful to experience it. Thank you, Elden Ring, for more than I expected.